Living with a sick person? That's too depressing, no way. Just leave that dying Emil alone. Matthew threw those cold words at me when I expressed my desire to live with my mom, who was in the last stage of breast cancer. I wonder if she couldn't eat good food because she was poor. That's so sad. My Emil, who always disliked my mom, seemed almost pleased upon hearing about my mom's illness. I was shocked. Don't they have a heart? Years later, Emil was diagnosed with a terminal cancer as well. Matthew decided we should live with Emil without asking me, so to get back at him, I chose to leave the house. My name is Alicia, I'm 32. I married Matthew, a former colleague from work, 5 years ago. I wanted to keep working, but Matthew wanted me to focus on housekeeping, so I reluctantly became a housewife. We lived just the two of us, but Male Samantha, who lived nearby, often came over. Samantha, who was born and raised in a wealthy family, had a different set of values, but we got along reasonably well. The only concern was the bad relationship between my mom, Natalie, and Samantha. My mom grew up in a fatherless household and was forced to live in poverty. Maybe that's why she took good care of things and didn't indulge in luxuries. However, Samantha was extravagant and bragged about being wealthy more than necessary. The pre-wedding family meeting took place in a hotel near the in-laws' house. The meal went smoothly, but when I went to the restroom, I found Samantha and Mom arguing. Where did you buy those clothes? They look so poor. Well, I hate the idea of being related to someone who dresses so strangely. Why is Matthew marrying someone from such a weird family? It's not about appearance. Judging people by such things isn't right. Mom wasn't fazed and countered firmly, which seemed to annoy Samantha, who glared at her fiercely. They met again at the wedding but didn't talk at all, and Mom and Samantha haven't met since. Samantha, who lived alone, a 10-minute walk away, was living off the inheritance from her husband, who was a doctor. Perhaps because she had time on her hands living alone, she often visited our house. Before Matthew went to work, he told me to keep the next Sunday free. Why? I was planning to visit Mom on Sunday. Mom's coming over to visit. Can't you handle it alone? If you're my wife, you should at least offer Mom some coffee. But I want to visit my mom sometimes too. We can do that some other time. It's not too far to my parents' home. Just about a 15-minute drive. But because Samantha came over almost every week, I hadn't seen my mom for nearly 3 months. We kept in touch by phone and text, but I missed seeing her in person from time to time. Since Dad passed away, Mom had been working part-time and could only really relax on Sundays. But with Samantha visiting almost every week, it had been hard to find the time to go home. I was just thinking that this week, I should visit my parents' home and talk to Mom. That's when I got a call from an unknown number on my mobile phone. It's XX Hospital. Your mom collapsed at work and was brought here. I panicked at the sudden news. I rushed out of the house and headed to the hospital, where I found my mom lying down. The doctor invited me into the examination room to talk. Your mom has breast cancer. Breast cancer? Can it be cured? Unfortunately, the cancer has spread. It's unlikely to be completely cured. How sad. I couldn't help but tear up at the doctor's words. I never imagined my mom could have cancer. I still haven't been able to repay her for everything. What am I going to do now? I was filled with anxiety. The treatment will be tough and the chances of a complete recovery are slim. We recommend palliative care to make her as comfortable as possible. The doctor's kind words helped me regain some composure, and I returned to the ward. Mom looked much thinner than the last time I saw her. I couldn't help but think that if I had visited Mom sooner, I might have noticed earlier. But it's too late for regrets. I told Mom I wanted to live with her and take care of her at home. She smiled happily at my decision. So, I decided to discuss it with Matthew as soon as I got home. By the time I finished all the hospital procedures, it was already evening. When I got home, Samantha and Matthew were there. Matthew had asked Samantha to prepare dinner because he knew I'd be home late. "How's Natalie?" "She has breast cancer. It seems pretty bad, and the treatment doesn't look promising," I told Matthew, fighting back tears. Matthew looked as sad as if it was about his own family and comforted me by stroking my back. Grateful for Matthew's kindness, I told him I wanted to live with my mom. But his response was unexpected. "That's a problem. It's depressing to come home to a bedridden sick person. Living with MIL and having to be considerate all the time? Absolutely not. But my time with mom is running short. It's only right to spend it together." "I disagree. Can you really take care of Natalie and handle all the housework?" "Exactly. We need the housework done properly, and you don't even know anything about caregiving." "I won't neglect the housework, and I'll learn about caregiving. It's not like she's bedridden right away. Just leave dying Natalie alone. It's such a hassle." "Right. It's really silly how desperate you are." They laughed. I could only stare at them in disbelief. Are these people even humans? How can they suggest leaving mom alone when she is about to pass away? Maybe she couldn't afford nutritious food because she was poor. But at least it's not a contagious disease," Samantha said with a laugh. I glared at her, burning with anger. Then, Samantha looked at me and smirked. "What's with that look? If you don't like it, just leave. Not sure if Natalie, a part-time worker with a meager salary, and you, a housewife with no income, can survive even a week, though." "That's right. I'm supporting you. You should listen to me." I couldn't respond. Matthew paid for all our living expenses. My savings were only from before we got married. There was no way the two of us could live on that. So, I decided to visit my parents' home during the day and take care of mom. It's only a 15-minute drive, not too far to commute. At first, balancing housework and caregiving was manageable, but gradually, as her illness progressed, mom's muscles weakened and she could hardly walk. It was harder than I imagined. Still, I studied caregiving methods diligently and tried my best to repay mom. I took care of her and did the housework without a break, getting more and more tired. Then one day, I saw unfamiliar shoes at my parents' home. When I went to mom's bedroom, I found her sister, Hannah. "What happened?" "Natalie asked me to come and help Alicia. I'm sorry for the trouble. I'd be okay with staying at a facility, but I thought Alicia might not want that." Indeed, I wanted her to spend as much time as possible at home. Understanding that, mom had asked Hannah for help. "I'm sorry." "It's okay. I want to help too." From that day, Hannah started coming to the house every other day to help. Having Hannah's help made things much easier. I had more time to rest and felt a little more at ease, but cruelly, the disease kept ravaging mom's body. She caught a severe cold, developed pneumonia, and was admitted to the hospital. A week after her admission, I got a call from the hospital saying mom was critical. When I arrived at the hospital, it was just when mom's heart stopped. As the beeping of the machines echoed, I broke down. The tears didn't stop at the farewell too soon with mom. I was so emotionally shattered that I could hardly manage my daily life. If it weren't for Hannah, I don't think I could have handled the funeral preparations or the inheritance procedures. Matthew and Samantha didn't offer help until the end, nor did they seem to care. Honestly, I was thinking of divorcing Matthew. But my lack of financial independence was a barrier. So, I started working in caregiving. I thought about saving up quickly to get a divorce, but then something happened that made it impossible. I was pregnant. It was a long-awaited child, and both Matthew and Samantha were overjoyed. For me too, it was a much-desired child. Though it was nice to see Matthew and Samantha happy about it. Being pregnant meant I couldn't continue working. A few months later, my son Sean was born safely. Seeing newborn Sean made me feel I had to protect him no matter what. With few childcare centers accepting infants, and the demands of childcare and housework, I reluctantly resigned from my job. I lost my chance to divorce, and about 5 years passed. I started working in caregiving again when Sean began attending preschool. I worked only while Sean was at preschool, juggling housework and childcare at home. One day, Matthew came home early on his day off with a somber look. It was much earlier than his usual return time. Usually, he'd spend his days off golfing with friends or going to the movies, not returning until the evening. But today, it was only 3 p.m. "Dad, you're home early." Sean greeted him happily, but Matthew didn't respond. "We need to have a serious talk, so Sean, please go to your room." After taking Sean to his room, I sat down on the sofa. "What's wrong? You look upset." "Actually, I got a call from Mom. She has a cancer." "What?" "The same breast cancer as Natalie. And there's no treatment for Mom either." "I see." Thinking of Mom, my heart ached. The shock of her passing still hadn't healed, and my heart was still wounded. But my time to grieve was short. "Mom said she wants to spend time with us. So, we're going to live together." "What?" "She's planning to move in the week after next." "Wait. What's wrong?" "Matthew, you're so against me living with my mom. That was years ago, and that was Alicia's mom. This time it's my mom. It's different." "How is it different?" "I'm absolutely against it." "What are you talking about? Can't you, as a wife, take care of your MIL? You married me. It's only natural to treat my mom the same as your mom." Matthew countered with an argument that made no sense. "I'm sorry, but I won't be taking care of Samantha. Given how you've spent your days off playing around, never bothering with childcare or housework, you're probably just going to dump the caregiving on me, aren't you?" "That's not true." "But Alicia, you work in caregiving, right? So it makes sense for you to do it." "What are you talking about? I'm not going to take care of Samantha without getting paid. How heartless can you be?" "Look, living together is already decided. I'm renting an electric bed, so make space for it." With that, Matthew left the house. I was left reeling by Matthew's selfishness. I hadn't forgotten the hurtful things Samantha and Matthew said to me when I wanted to live with my mom. I didn't want to take on the burden of caregiving for such unkind people. I was determined to divorce. After that, Matthew was often late coming home, claiming he was busy with hospital visits and arrangements. He often returned after Sean and I had gone to bed. In Matthew's absence, I began preparing for divorce. The one who helped me with the divorce preparations was Hannah. Hannah had been through a divorce herself, so I consulted her about what should be done. She not only shared her own experiences, but also provided useful information I hadn't even thought of. However, one of my biggest concerns was finding a new home. Even renting an apartment was difficult because I couldn't afford places with high rent. I struggled to find a place that was affordable, suitable for Sean and me, and not too far from my workplace. That's when Hannah offered help. "If you're struggling with rent, I can introduce you to a good property. A friend of mine owns an apartment, and I believe one room is vacant. She's willing to rent it cheaply to have it occupied, and it's not too far from your workplace." Grateful for Hannah's offer, I immediately asked her to introduce me to the property. It was conveniently located, not far from Sean's preschool and my workplace, so I signed the contract right away. But there was another thing that worried me. It was about Sean. I felt it was unfair to suddenly drag him into the situation and separate him from his dad. I was considering giving up on the divorce if Sean was against it. However, Sean spoke to me with kind words. "Mom, are you okay? Are you in pain?" "No, I'm not in pain. Just thinking. Would you be sad if you couldn't live with Dad anymore?" "I'd be a little sad, but I hate seeing you sad more." I was taken aback by Sean's words and looked into his eyes. Sean continued with a slightly sad face. "Because Mom, you look a little sad when you're with Dad. I prefer it when you smile." I had heard that children are very observant, but I was surprised to see how much Sean noticed about me. I thought he was still just a child, but he seemed to sense that things weren't going well with Matthew. And still, Sean chose me. With Sean's understanding, I decided to take action. The day came for Samantha to move in. Matthew had left a message saying to make space for the electric bed and other items. He went to the in-laws' house to bring Samantha's belongings. Seizing the moment, I left the divorce papers at the house and took Sean with me to our new apartment. I ignored Matthew's calls as Sean and I sorted through our belongings. The thought of starting a new life filled me with a sense of liberation. Life with just the two of us turned out to be more comfortable than I expected. By cutting costs and living frugally, my salary was sufficient to support us. In fact, I had used my free time after having my child to study caregiving and had obtained a certification, which resulted in a higher salary than before. Since Matthew never contributed to household chores or childcare, the amount of housework I had to do remained the same. Actually, it was easier without having to cook and do laundry for Matthew. However, in the midst of our comfortable life, I unexpectedly ran into Matthew at the supermarket. "Alicia, what are you doing? You left the house without saying anything." Matthew approached me, shouting amidst the crowd. "Stop it. There are so many people here. Damn it. Come home. We'll talk there." I honestly didn't want to return to that house. To face Samantha again. I didn't want to see her face at all. But to keep my current home a secret, I had no choice but to comply. As soon as I entered the house, Samantha began berating me. "Where have you been, Alicia? It doesn't matter where." "Of course it does. You should come back and take care of Mom." "No thanks. Why not just leave dying people alone?" "What did you say? How could you say such a thing? Did you forget already? Isn't that what you told me? Why should I do anything for Samantha when you never lifted a finger?" Matthew and Samantha's faces turned red with anger and breathed heavily. I don't mind if Matthew wants to care for Samantha. I just want a divorce. Why divorce all of a sudden? You don't even have to do caregiving, just handle the household chores. Are you tired of even that? No. It's not the chores I'm tired of. I'm tired of being Matthew's wife. I can't be with someone who cheats on me with a younger woman, saying he's busy with preparations while his mom is sick. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Samantha looked puzzled, and Matthew stuttered in denial. His panic made it seem like an admission, but he still tried to lie his way out. Actually, when I talked to Hannah about divorcing Matthew because of his tyrannical attitude, she said she saw Matthew entering a young woman's house. So I did a little investigation and sure enough, he's been meeting a woman almost every day. A coworker, maybe? I have the photos. I had received photos of Matthew's infidelity from the investigation. When I showed them, Matthew's face turned pale. Samantha glared at Matthew. "Matthew, what are you doing when I'm going through such a hard time?" "No, it's not like that. I was thinking this would be the last time we meet. Making memories before I start caring for Mom. I won't meet her again." Even if you don't meet her anymore, the fact that you cheated won't change. If you refuse to divorce, I'm not afraid to go to the court, but you won't stand a chance of winning. So, please sign the divorce papers quickly. And from now on, any discussions about the divorce should go through my lawyer. Matthew looked frustrated and then, as if he had an idea, he smirked maliciously. "You're working in caregiving now, right?" "Yes." "I bet you're not earning much. With your salary, you must be living a poor life in a cheap apartment." He probably thought he could intimidate me by highlighting my lack of financial resources. But I was no longer the person I used to be. Thankfully, I got a good deal on a cheap apartment and am living a slightly better life. Of course, I need to be frugal, but I'm not struggling so much that Sean has to go without. I won't be controlled by you forever. Controlled? Yes. You wanted to keep me from earning money by dumping all the housework on me, making me think I couldn't live without you. But I can live without you. When I spoke my mind, Matthew's face twisted in frustration. Fine, I'll divorce you. But don't come crying when you run out of money. Life will only get tougher when Sean starts advancing in school. Just wait, you'll suffer. Matthew signed the divorce papers on the spot. I took them and stood up. Thank you. Now we're strangers. Good luck with Samantha's care. Oh, and about the compensation from the divorce trial, my lawyer will handle it. With those words, I left the house. It was half a year later. Not at the supermarket where I had previously met Matthew, but at a different one. I saw Matthew standing at the entrance. And when he saw me, he hurriedly approached. I'm glad to find you. If you live around here, I thought you'd come here for sure. What do you want? We're strangers now, so don't talk to me. Wait. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Please come back. It seemed Matthew didn't know my apartment or workplace and had been waiting for me at local supermarkets, hoping to run into me. And then, Matthew fervently apologized. What now? I was wrong. Mom can't even go to the toilet by herself anymore, and I can't manage caregiving after work. It's too much. I'm exhausted, making mistakes at work. I can't handle it all on my own. Matthew was likely struggling with housekeeping. He was wearing a dirty shirt. And his hair was unkempt and unbearable to look at. So you realized how hard caregiving is. I really felt it. So, can you come back and help? No. But why? It's too late for regrets now. It's all because of what you did, Matthew. Don't come near me again. If you follow me, I'll report it to the police. Alicia, don't say that. Please. Make sure you pay the child support and compensation from the divorce trial. Matthew was in tears. The same Matthew who always looked down on me. His pathetic state was just astonishing. The heartless words about my mom, the selfish behavior of constantly playing around without caring for the family, and to top it off, the betrayal of cheating, this was the result. There was no other way to put it but as a consequence of his own actions. Afterward, Matthew apparently pressured his affair partner into marriage, but was, of course, rejected. It seemed she reported him to their superiors, leading to a sexual harassment case, and he was transferred to another department. This news came from former colleagues at the company where we both worked before getting married. Having several acquaintances there, I naturally received updates. Balancing caregiving and work became too much for him, his performance dropped, and with the transfer, his salary significantly decreased. With the reduced income and obligations to pay the child support and compensation from the divorce, he's apparently in a situation where he can't afford a helper or caregiving services. He's desperately trying to provide care, but he's at his limit both mentally and physically, unable to focus at work, making frequent mistakes, and spiraling down. A former colleague mentioned that if the mistakes continue, he might even be fired. It's unfortunate, but it's no longer my concern. I'm living a peaceful life in the apartment Hannah introduced to me. Balancing housework and my job is challenging, but with Sean and Hannah's support, we're managing. It's a pity I couldn't show Sean to Mom, but I like to think she's watching over us as I do my best for Sean's sake.